Yeah, got a show for y'all.
Got a damn good show.
All right, so I thought this was an interesting conversation. He's got two attorneys on his show.
And these two attorneys carry a lot of credibility. They're not idiots.
Yeah, they
Like that judge who reduced his bond down to $250,000. What a moron she is. And she's a Republican judge?
Yeah, she's a Republican judge.
I don't believe in Republican female judges. If you're a judge and you're a female, you can't be Republican.
You can't be conservative.
You're a textbook rhino. Just look at Coney Barrett.
Yeah, she always
Coney
votes.
Barrett.
She votes very
She votes
progressive.
with Democrats.
Yeah. All right, but so let's get to this conversation.
All right, so Anthony was being held on $1 million bond, which was crazy. Today they reduced it to 250 grand, which is, still.
That's crazy.
It's not crazy. Look what they did to what's his name?
The cop.
Yeah, the cop. He's arresting some guy that's overdoing on drugs. He had $1 million bail.
Yeah, and technically, I don't think he murdered the guy. The guy OD'd. He just failed to render help.
Yeah. So, and then this kid stabs some other kid at a track meet.
Yeah, that's. It
And
should
his
be
bail-
$5 million.
Yeah, and his bail is dropped to $250,000.
It's black privilege.
Yeah. So, $1 million is not outrageous because the left, y'all set that precedent.
How about Kyle Rittenhouse? His bail. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Another good point.
Sizable, but he wound up getting out. All right, so Mark, first of all, the idea of race, I mean, you lived it with Zimmerman in a big way. There's so many people who believe that that's why Zimmerman wound up beating that case. But what do you see here? What are your questions? What will matter?
Oh, no, it's definitely a consideration. It always is, whether it's a sort of obvious what we're doing or the implicit one, because we all carry these implicit biases with us that perceive or impact how we perceive an event. Now, what's really...
That's a great point.
Yeah, we all have bias.
It's racism there in this country for the most part, but we all have this bias.
Right.
I know I got it.
So I definitely got it.
So I know white people, you got it too.
It's going to come down to it. And I disagree with the guy who said this is not a self-defense case. Yesterday, I think he said it. This is definitely a self-defense case because it always is one until you look at the facts of the case and compare the two. You have to compare who was the initial aggressor. Was it an aggressive act for him to go up and say, get away from the tent? Did he do more than that? My understanding was maybe he touched him and put hands on him. Granted, that makes the decedent in this case maybe the initial aggressor. But you really still then have to look at whether or not Karmelo Anthony responded with appropriate force, he used a deadly weapon, and whether or not he was in imminent fear of great bodily injury. That's the standard in Texas and most every state to determine whether or not his actions, the way he perceived him, the way Karmelo Anthony perceived him when he took out that knife and stabbed him. The good part is if the decedent was the aggressor initially. The bad part for Karmelo, if in fact it's true that he sort of said, touch me and you'll see, because that's that aggression, that's that predisposition towards violence that doesn't have a place in a true self-defense case.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great point.
Yeah, but one thing he failed to mention, if you in fear for your life, if you have an avenue to flee or to walk away or to de-escalate, you're supposed to take that.
Yeah, and that's what they ask you to leave. That's all they have to do is leave.
He said, according to the police report, he said, put your hands on me and see what happens. He was the aggressor.
Yeah.
You're saying that white kid was the initial aggressor telling him to leave. I don't think that's considered aggressive to tell somebody to leave your school's tent when you don't belong. And if he put his hands on him, yeah, you're the initial aggressor. But hey, self-defense, did you have an avenue to flee?
Yeah.
He did. He didn't want to. He threatened the guy. Put your hands on me and see what happens. Yeah. That's not self-defense.
He's the aggressor, which makes him the aggressor.
Right.
What's the most important question for you in this, Mark? And then I want the same from you, Professor, if you have one. Go ahead, Mark.
Sure. Who truly was the initial aggressor? How did this unfold such that if in fact he had a reason to believe in great bodily injury was imminent, was it reasonable? Was he pushed? Was he shoved? Was he hit? Because don't forget, it's of the moment, but you are allowed to respond to great deadly force with your own great deadly force, or at least your perception of great deadly force. So it's really going to be fact-based. I do think that race, it's going to be played out on social media. It also is going to be played out in a courtroom if you ever get there, because in today's day and age, I would argue that someone like Karmelo Anthony now has a heightened concern over the past few years and the way we've sort of degraded some of the progress we may have thought we made over the past decade, as far as how we're treating young black males in the system, such that maybe he would have felt more preyed upon than he otherwise would. Interesting. You're right. We're going to be talking about this for a long time.
You know what? Pause real quick. He's talking from the perception of the kid when he stabbed him. His perception does not matter because I think his perception is unreasonable, the force he used. The perception that's going to matter in this case is the jury's perception. Yeah. Was that reasonable what that kid did? Of course not. Stabbing somebody because someone told you to leave a fence and then you didn't want to leave because your ego was hurt and you threatened to put your hands on me and see what happens. Yeah, then you stab them when you...
Yeah, at a track meet in broad daylight. I could see if somebody dragged you in a dark alley, it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you stabbed them for doing that.
Yeah.
But it's all about context. At a track meet during the day where there's other kids there, you're in fear for your life?
No, that's BS. Now, if those 2 twins jumped him and they were beating the crap out of him, on top of him, pummeling him, just beating his brakes off, right? I could see you stabbing the kids.
Yeah.
Right? And it's self-defense.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen.
Yeah. I wouldn't see him stabbing them. I could see you niggas taking that ass whooping.
That's what most kids would do.
Yeah. But
in self-defense, you could.
Yeah, right.
Professor, what do you got?
Say something.
Hello? Oh, I'm
Professor?
sorry.
Yeah, Professor.
This dude
This
asleep.
is all about who the jury is. This will all be determined by the jury. If the racial factors were reversed, if a white man had killed an unarmed black man, everybody would be on the reverse side of this. We live in a society where everything is judged by race. The Bible says to judges and prosecutors, don't recognize people, just do abstract justice. We're way, way, way beyond that. If the racial elements were reversed there, virtually all the people who are calling for him to be acquitted would be calling for him to be convicted, and vice versa. Let's not kid ourselves. We live in a race-conscious society, and jury selection, which, of course, your other guest is so brilliant at and did so well in the Zimmerman case, is determine the outcome of this case without it.
Yeah, like O.J. Simpson. There was black people all over that jury. There was no way he was going to be found guilty.
Like those white cops that beat up Rodney King. All white jury. If he gets an all black jury, there's a chance he walks.
Well, Kevin, all he needs is about 2.
Well, that's a hung jury. They'll retry him again, though.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah.
All you need is 1 black guy on that. I mean, real black guy.
No, not
If
one
they
black
fucking
guy.
Democrat.
Not one black guy. One black woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or 1 progressive white woman.
Yeah.
For me, it's as simple as, how do they feel about this proposition? Bringing a knife to a fist fight. Mark O'Mara, we'll see what happens. Alan Dershowitz, thank you.
Great point. Bringing a knife to a fist fight. And I don't think it was a fist fight.
Nobody got punched.
Yeah. That's a poor analogy used.
Yeah. Hey, in a perfect world, Karmelo Anthony would rot in jail.
Yeah.
For life. But we all have these biases, and it just depends when it comes down to the jury.
Don't you think these biases are more prevalent amongst a certain demographic of people, though? Like the amongst black people, I would say so. We both
but
have biases.
But it's worse in the black community. But it has an impact on white people too.
And the reason why I bring that up, that kid that was strangled on the New York subway by what's his name? I'm having a Biden moment.
Daniel Penny. Yeah,
they was calling him a hero. I wouldn't necessarily call the man a hero. I would call him a hero if he was able to restrain the guy without strangling him to death until the cops get there. Then you could say he's a hero. He accidentally, while he was restraining, the guy lost his life. I don't consider it to be a hero, but I do understand why the jury said he wasn't guilty.
Yeah, cause that
black fatigue.
Well, New York subways are crazy. Yeah. I just seen a dude get down and dirty with a dead person on the subway.
Right.
We just did that video the other day.
Right.
We seen people get torched alive on the subway.
Right.
It's like, I understand why they let him off, because people on the subway is crazy, and we wasn't there. We don't know what he experienced and what he saw. So they say, I'm just going to give him the benefit of the doubt.
If I was a New Yorker and I was on that jury, and I would find it very hard to find him guilty.
Yeah.
Because of what's going on in that subway.
Because he's threatening people's lives.
But look at the Karmelo Anthony situation. You had a track meet. I understand you was in the wrong tent. I think it was raining. Maybe he was trying to get out of the rain. Kid told you to leave, right? You took it the wrong way. But for you to pull a knife on that kid because your ego got
Yeah.
stroke. That is
And he
unreasonable.
he was the aggressor and he coaxed him to do something.
Yeah.
Touch me and see what happened.
Yeah.
The white kid challenged his manhood and then he challenged his manhood back, and that's what happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why we got through.
At that age, man, it's so easy to get in a fight.
Yeah.
I remember being at the age. Someone disrespected me, I got up in your face. I didn't care, you know?
Yeah, because you're young. Now
Yeah, you got this knife. Would he would have said that to that white kid, Austin Metcalf, if he didn't have that knife? He wouldn't have said that.
Right.
He would have probably flipped him off and walked away. But because he had that knife, he had that courage.
Yeah.
Okay, touch me and see what happens.
Right. Yeah. It's not self-defense. In a perfect world, he should be locked up to the day he died.
Yeah.